Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Api Adya Nas Tvam Sva Kritam Ihita Prabhu Jihasasi Svit Suhrido Anujivina Yesham Na Janyad Bhavataha Padambujad Horayanam Rajasu Yojitam Hasam Apyadyanastvang Swakrite Hita Prabho Jihasasi Svit Suhrido Nujivina Yesham Nachanyad Bhavatak Padambujat Horayanam Rajasu Yojitam Hasam Apyadyanastvang Swakrite Hita Prabho Jihasasi Svit Suhrido Nujivina Yesham Nachanyad Bhavatak Padambujat Horayanam Rajasu Yojitam Hasam Apyadyanastvang Swakrite Hita Prabho Jihasasi Svit Suhrido Nujivina Yesham Nachanyad Bhavatak Padambujat Horayanam Rajasu Yojitam Hasam Api, if Adya, today, Naha, us, Tvam, you, Swakrito, self-executed, Ihita, all duties, Prabho, O my Lord, Jihasasi, giving up, Svit, possibly, Suhrida, intimate friends, Anujivina, living at the mercy of, Yesham, of whom, Na, nor, Cha, and, Anyat, anyone else, Bhavataha, your, Padambujat, from the lotus feet, Parayanam, dependent, Rajasu, unto the kings, Yojitam, engaged in, Hosam, enmity. Translation. O my Lord, you've executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today, though we are completely dependent on your mercy, and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us?
This conversation was going on between Kunti and Krishna. When Krishna was going home, after establishing the Pandavas in their kingdom and finishing the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna is going back home, Dwarka, and was taking leave, farewell from the urn. And that time Kunti offered this prayer. Now he is asking directly that after finishing your duty, is it a fair that you are going away, leaving us alone? This is the devotee's position. Here it is said, Jishang nacha anyat bhavata padam muja. We have no other means of protection than your lotus feet. This is our position. Anyat. Anyat means anything else. This is full surrender. Just like Narottam Das Thakur sings, Haha Prabhu Nanda Suto Vrishabhanu Suta Juto. Nanda Suta, Krishna, and you are present here with the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. Both of you are here. Aha Prabhu Nanda Suta Vrishabhanu Suta Juto. We don't want to see Krishna alone. Why everyone is coughing? What is the difficulty? Yesterday also I heard. What is the difficulty? Huh? But you have no sufficient warm cloth, so you are affected. That you must arrange. You must take care of your health. Juktahara viharascha yoga bhavati siddhiti. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Juktahar, you should take food just to maintain your health nicely. Similarly, other necessities of body must be taken care of. If you become diseased, then how you can execute Krishna consciousness? Just like Brahmananda could not go today. So we must be careful. We should not eat more or less. Better eat less than eat more. You will not die by eating less, but you may die eating more. People die for overeating, not for undereating. This should be the principle. The medical science always forbids not to eat more than you require. Voracious eating is the cause of diabetes. And undernourishment is the cause of tuberculosis. This is the medical science. So we should not take under, neither more. In children case, they can commit the mistake of taking more. But adults, they cannot commit this mistake, taking more. Children, they can digest. Because all day they are playing. So anyway, we should take care of our health also. Sanatana Goswami, he was suffering from itches very much. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was embracing him. So the itches were wet itches. There are two kinds of itches, wet and dry. Sometimes itching spot is dry. And sometimes it is wet. After itching it becomes wet. So Sanatana Goswami's body was all covered with wet itches. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was embracing him. So the wetness, the moisture was sticking to the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, he felt it very much. saying that I am suffering from itches and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is embracing and the wet thing is smearing over the body, how much I am unfortunate. So he decided that tomorrow I shall commit suicide instead of allowing me to be embraced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, next day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired that you have decided to commit suicide. So do you think this body is yours? So, you are silent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that you have already dedicated this body to me, how you can kill it? Similarly, of course, from that day his itches were all cured. But this is the decision that our body, those who are Krishna conscious, those who are working for Krishna, they should not think that the body belongs to him. It is already dedicated to Krishna. So it must be kept very carefully without any neglect, just like you are taking care of the temple because it is Krishna's place. Similarly, we should not take over care, but some care we should take so that we may not fall disease. Anyway, so Kunti Devi says, Jisa nacha annat bhavata padambuja. This is called full dependence. In the Saranagati, in the surrender process, there are 6 things. The 6 things is that completely, one of the completely dependent on Krishna. Anukulla sankalpa. The first Saranagati is to accept everything favorable for Krishna's service. Anukullam. Anukullena Krishnanu bhakti uttama. Devotional first class bhakti means accepting everything which is favorable for devotional service. And pratikullam vivarjanam. And reject everything which is unfavorable to the procedure of Krishna consciousness. So we forbid that you don't do this because they are unfavorable. And we say something, you do this, chant Hare Krishna 16 hours, that is favorable. The Saranagati means to give up the unfavorable things and to accept the favorable. Anukulla sasankalpa, pratikullam vivarjanam. And believe that Krishna will give me protection, full faith. And to count oneself as one of the servants of Krishna. In this way, Saranagati. So here Kunti says that if you think, my dear Krishna, now we are well established, we have got our kingdom back, so everything is nicely done, so you want to leave us. That is not a very good proposal. Because we are not free as yet, because we have killed so many kings. All their relatives and friends, they are also planning to come and again fight with us. This is our position. Parayanang rajasu jujitang hasam. They are still engaged. So, you don't think that we are already all free from all dangerous conditions. We are not. And we have no other protection except your lotus feet. This is our position. So indirectly, he was asking, Krishna, do not leave us. Don't think that we are safe now. We are not safe. Without your protection, we are always unsafe. This should be the position of the devotee. We are actually in a dangerous position, this material world. At any time, Maya will catch. At any time. As soon as we are little inattentive, and now I have done my duty, now let me take rest little. No, there is no rest. We must be always alert. There is a verse from Srila Rupa Goswami. What is that? Abbartha kalatam. Abbartha kalatam. A devotee should be so much careful that he should see whether my time is unnecessarily being spent. Whether I am now engaged in Maya service or Krishna service. That one should be very much alert. Abbartha kalatam namagane sadaruchi priti tat vasasi sthale. These are the symptoms of advanced devotees. What is that? Namagane sadaruchi. He is never tired of chanting or singing or dancing. No tiresome feeling. Namagane sada. Sada means always ruchi, taste. Very nice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. This is the test. But this test, to awaken this test, it takes time to become, just like Rupa Goswami. When he was chanting, he was thinking, I have got only one tongue and 2 ears. What I shall chant? He was thinking, if I could get millions of tongues and trillions of ears, then I could realize something by chanting and hearing. This was the... so we should not imitate, but at least we must be very careful to complete the 16 downs, the minimum. The namagane sadaruchi. We have to increase our taste for singing and chanting. Namagane sadaruchi. Priti tat vasati sthale. And we should increase our inclination to live in the place where Krishna is living. Krishna is living everywhere. That is the vision of higher devotees. Actually he is living. But still, because we are in the lower condition, we should know that here is Krishna in the temple. Krishna is everywhere. But for us, because we have no such vision to see Krishna anywhere and everywhere, therefore we should come here in the temple and see Krishna. Here is Krishna. Krishna has kindly appeared here in a manner in which I can see him. That is Krishna's mercy. That is temple. We cannot see. Krishna has complete spiritual body, but we have no eyes to see what is that spiritual body. Satchidananda Vigraha. We are accustomed to see these material, jada, gross things. We can see stone, we can see metal, we can see wood, we can see all these material elements. But Krishna is everything. Therefore, to be visible to our imperfect eyes, Krishna has appeared in the stone form. But Krishna is not stone. It is not that we are worshipping stone. We are worshipping Krishna. But because we cannot see except stone, therefore Krishna has kindly appeared in the form carved from the stone. This is the conclusion. So, priti sat bhatasi sthale. So one should be very much inclined to live within the circle of temple environment. Namagane sadaruchi, and increase our inclination to chant more and more. Namagane sadaruchi, priti sat bhatasi sthale. And one thing, always thinking dependent on Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness. Always thinking that without Krishna, my life is useless. I am in danger. Actually, you are in dangerous position without Krishna. So Krishna, Kunti is offering that prayer. That Krishna, you are thinking that now we are safe, but I don't think we are safe. We are always in danger. So, if you think that we are safe, then who will give us protection? Because we have no other protection except your lotus feet. Jisang nacha anyat bhavata padambuja. Padambuja. Pada means feet, ambuja means lotus. So, except your lotus feet, we have no other shelter. We have no other shelter. And so far our safety is concerned, we are already encircled by so many enemies, because in the fight, one's father has died, so his son is preparing to fight with us. So we are not at all free now. So apadyanastang sakite hitang prabho. Now Krishna is addressed as Prabhu. Although Krishna has come to Kunti Devi to take the dust of his feet, of her feet, she is superior aunt, but Kunti Devi is addressing him the Prabhu, the Lord. Kunti Devi is not addressing him. He is asking his beloved nephew, but she knows that Krishna, although playing the part of my nephew, my brother's son, still he is Prabhu, he is the Supreme Master. Therefore he is addressing Prabhu. Jihasasi. Jihasasi means, are you actually leaving us? Jihasasi, sit, suhida. Suhida means those who are well-wisher. Anujivina. Anujivina means they are living under your mercy only. Our life is always under your mercy. So these things, these are the symptoms of really Krishna conscious person, that one should think always in danger without Krishna. This is the first step. And by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, one should always feel safe. Now I am under the protection. Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi nami bhakta pranasyati. It is a fact. If you become a pure devotee of Krishna, there is no question of danger. Pranasyati. Krishna gives protection to everyone. Without his protection, nobody can live even for a single moment. That's a fact. So, if you think that Krishna is giving protection to everyone, then what is the use of becoming a special devotee? No, there is use. Just like the king gives protection to everyone, every one of the citizens, that is his duty. But he has got special protection for his own men. This is the distinction. This is not unnatural. One is directly engaged in Krishna, the governance or the president's service. So when he is in some difficulty, he has got some special protection. Although President Nixon is giving protection as president to every citizen, but those who are personally associated with him, giving him this service, they are special considered. That is not unnatural. That is natural. That is not partiality. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that samoham sarva bhuteshu. Yeah, I am equal to everyone. He is God. How he can be partial to somebody and partial to somebody? No. Samoham. That is samata. That is natural. When a gentleman loves all children, but he has special love for his own children. That is natural. That is not partiality. Nobody will say, oh, why you are loving your own children more than others? No, that is natural. This is not partiality. Similarly, Krishna loves everyone because everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. But he takes special care of the devotee. Therefore he says, Kontiya pratijani nami bhakta pranashyati. His bhakta, his devotee, will never be. He is always alert to see the comforts of the devotees. And the devotees are always busy to see how Krishna is satisfied by dressing him, by supplying him food, by serving him, always engaged. Similarly, Krishna is also always engaged to see how my devotees will be happy. This is process going on. This is intimate relationship with Krishna. The ordinary living entity, they have got relationship. But when one becomes devotee, it is intimate relation, intimate friend. Therefore, Kunti is requesting Krishna that how you can leave us. We are your intimate friends. And Anujivina. Anujivina means we are simply living by your care, by your mercy. So don't think that we are safe and you are leaving us. We have no other shelter than your lotus feet. Kindly don't leave us. This is the Kunti's prayer. Similarly, Narottam Das Thakur says, Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vishabhanu Sutta Jita Koruna Karaha Eva. Now I am fully surrendered. You can show your mercy because without Krishna consciousness, when one thinks that I shall protect myself, my society will protect me, my community will protect me, my state will give me protection, what do I care for God? This is the general tendency. So I have got so many protection. Why shall I go to Krishna? These rascals, those who have more protection, they can go to Krishna. That is their view. But that is not the fact. Unless Krishna gives you protection, there is no protection. This is stated in the Srimad Bhagavad. Balasya neha saranam pitaro nisingha. When Prahlad Maharaj offering prayer to Krishna, Nisinghadev, he said, my dear Lord, Balasya, for the children, it is not to be thought that because one child has got father and mother, he has got full protection. No, that is not. If Krishna does not give protection to a child, in spite of having thousands of father and mother, he will not be protected. This is the fact. Similarly, he says, Nattasya chagada mudan natamajjatu. No. It is not that good physician or good medicine can give one protection. No. Suppose one is suffering from some disease and one is very rich man, he engages first-class physician, first-class medicine is being Does it mean that his life is guaranteed? No. If Krishna does not give him protection, despite all supply of good medical treatment and medicine, he will die. This is a fact. Similarly, if you have got good, nice boat, it is not guarantee that you will not drown in the ocean. No, at any moment, if Krishna does not give you protection. This is our position. So we may have invented so many counteraction for our protection. That is scientific advancement, struggle for existence. Nature is offering difficulties, and the human beings, so-called scientists, they are trying to invent something to check this difficulty. This is called struggle for existence. But it is not possible. Unless Krishna gives you protection, your invention has no use. So Kunti knows it. Although Kunti happens to be the mother of big warriors, or June Bhe, still she thinks that they are not sufficient to give us protection. My sons are so big warriors. But that is not protection. Accept yourself. Therefore she says, Jisang nacha anyat. It is not that anyone can give us protection except your lotus feet. So this is a very nice verse for the surrendered soul, seeking the protection of Krishna. And if we remain in that position, that our only protector is Krishna, and our only duty is to serve Krishna, then our life is successful. Thank you very much.
And I was too shy to ask Prabhupada, what did you talk about after it was over? So I resigned myself that I guess I wouldn't know. But it turned out that when Prabhupada arrived in Berkeley, during his arrival address, he mentioned the conversation. And he said the captain was very intelligent, and he asked several questions. One of the questions was, if God is all good, then why is there evil in the world? And Prabhupada said, for God, there is no evil. There's only good. And he gave the analogy, just as my back is as important to me as my chest. If there's pain in my back, I take care of that. I don't ignore it, thinking that the chest is more important. So evil is like the back of God, and it's not different from his front, which is compared to goodness. And then the captain asked, if everything is good from God's point of view, how can there be evil? And Prabhupada gave another example. He said it's like the sun. On the body of the sun, there's no shadow. We create shadow by turning our back to the sun. So similarly, evil means when we turn away from God. So then the captain asked a third question. He said, how is it possible to attain peace? And Prabhupada said, to attain peace, we have to understand that God is the supreme proprietor, the supreme enjoyer, and the supreme friend.
There was another time with captains and airplanes also I can tell you about. We were between Bombay and Calcutta, and the pilot invited us in to the cabin. And even when we landed, we stayed there. We didn't even have seatbelts on, anything. We just flew right into Calcutta. The pilot was showing everything to Prabhupada about the controls and how he flew the plane. And then Prabhupada turned to me and he said, it's just like typing. After a while, you learn how to move your fingers, because the pilot was going this and that and moving his fingers everywhere and switching switches. And because they switch switches a lot up there. They're not just sitting there. They're really doing things. I was watching him and turned to me and said, "You can learn how to fly." I said, "Me fly? I'm afraid of heights."
I had attended the University of California here at Berkeley in the early 60s. And I remember there's so much anxiety with student rebellions and riots, and the drug scene was exploding at the time. And most students, including myself, were just dissatisfied and bewildered. Regularly, students were committing suicide by jumping off the clock tower we see in the background. When Srila Prabhupada was informed about this, his response put my whole university experience into perspective. And he told the story of the Himalayas giving birth. So many people gathered at a cave at the base of these huge mountains and then waited for days. And finally the mountains rumbled, and the people only saw some rats run out of the cave. Everyone laughed, and then Bahulasva told Prabhupada that I had graduated from this university. And Brahmananda said, "Oh, poor Yadabara." And I stepped forward and said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada, I am one of those rats."
I joined the Los Angeles Temple in 1975. And the day that I joined, they put seemed like about 100 devotees on the back of a flatbed truck covered with a tarp, and we all drove to San Francisco for Rath Yatra. I was new Bhakta. I wasn't shaved up yet. I had long hair and a beard. I didn't really know much at all. So we were engaged helping to set up the festival, and we slept under the stage, the main stage. And the next day in the morning, we drove over to the Berkeley Temple for greeting of the deities, and Prabhupada came out around that same time, and all the devotees just pay their obeisance. And remember the first time I saw Srila Prabhupada, when he came out, it was just, I guess a lot of devotees have said this, but it was really like the room just lit up from his presence, although he was pretty slight in stature, with just this amazing effulgence came from him. And I remember thinking, boy, this person is really powerful. And then I thought, I hope he's good, because anyone with that kind of potency, it'd be pretty scary if he wasn't. Of course, I found out he was more than good later on.
I'm sitting in the temple room, Prabhupada's sitting in the Vyasasana, he's being interviewed by the news media. The question is, what will happen to your movement when you die? Before the words were out of his mouth, it was so lightning quick. Prabhupada was saying, "I will never die." Right back at the guy. And we're like, and then Prabhupada explained himself. "I will live forever in my books."
This was in the middle of the Inconceivable Marathon, so Ramaswar had arranged that the BBT staff, they're on a special bus that arrives right before the Rath Yatra and takes off right after. So I remember I just would look at Prabhupada and kept staring at him and praying, how can I be of some service to you? Because I was feeling that I was just useless and missing out on all the nectar and not having anything to do for Lord Chaitanya's mission. Well, here I was, working on the book marathon, but still, those were my sentiments. And I was lost in the crowd and just looking up at Prabhupada and praying like that, very emphatically from my heart. And I'll never forget, all of a sudden, amidst hundreds upon hundreds of devotees, Prabhupada suddenly looked in my direction, looked straight at me, and I was so shocked. He just looked straight at me and fixed his eyes straight on me. I had no doubt what was going on. And I was like, just stunned, like, my God, he actually hears, he actually knows what's going on in my heart.
Jayananda had said these wheels of the chariots are all wearing out, and they're dangerous, and they're too big, and they're too heavy, and we need to replace them. He wanted to make steel wheels with spokes. So he had this welder making new wheels. And the night before the Rath Yatra, we went and put new wheels on Jagannath's chariot and Balaram's chariot, not on Subhadra's chariot. Her chariot was relatively easy to navigate compared to the other two. So we pulled the chariots, testing the new wheels, and there was no problem. The next morning, of course, the parade starts, and as soon as we started pulling the chariots, these new wheels collapsed. Instead of being round, they became octagons. Between each spoke, steel collapsed. So the chariots were bouncing, and I was horrified because the vibration was so intense. Fortunately, Srila Prabhupada was on Subhadra's cart. But what was remarkable is that I had written Srila Prabhupada and told him that we were making new wheels. And he had written me back and said, "The old wheels are fine. Don't change anything. This is your American disease." But by the time he'd gotten the letter, the old wheels had already been thrown away and the new wheels were done. So Jayananda reassured me, he said, no, there's no problem. But then it was like Prabhupada's words had to be fulfilled. So as soon as that parade started, the new wheels collapsed. And I could hear Prabhupada's voice say, "Stick with the old way."
The other thing that I remember is, upon arrival at the festival site, Radha Ballabha, who was in charge of the production at that point, brought Prabhupada a stack of books, which had just been printed, because this was during the Inconceivable Marathon, so some books had already started to come out. And Prabhupada took those books, and I'll just never forget what I saw. He was on the stage, seated on his Vyasasana, and I was down below, seated on the grass, and I saw Prabhupada just light up like the moon in the sky upon getting those books in his hand, and I'll never forget that. Then I remember him lecturing, and I remember him saying, "I've given this example so many times. You water the tree at the root, all the branches blossom. You put the food in the mouth, the whole body's energized." I remember at that moment, I finally caught it. It finally dawned on me, the utter simplicity yet profundity of Krishna consciousness and Bhakti Yoga. Simply by satisfying Krishna, all purposes are fulfilled.
On the way down from LA to San Diego, Jayatirtha was falling asleep driving, so Prabhupada wouldn't let him drive anymore. So Jayatirtha got me to drive him a 1 hour drive, but of course in those days, none of us slept much. So I remember I'm driving, I'm about halfway down, I look in the back, Prabhupada, his head was tilted back, he was asleep. A few minutes later, I think it was Brahmananda sitting beside him, he was asleep. Jayatirtha sitting shotgun, I looked over at him, a few minutes later, he was asleep. And I was like going through all these things to keep my eyes open. And I was like pinching myself and doing all this stuff. I was falling asleep with my eyes open. And all of a sudden, I hear this. And Prabhupada starts the kirtan. And then gradually all the others woke up in the car and we had this really nice kirtan, 4 of us in the car. He led the kirtan.
Srila Prabhupada went on a tour of the temple, and I walked with him, and he, of course, went to the temple room first and offered his obeisances. I never forget, he walked in every room. He was inspecting everywhere. And the last room he went in was the Sankirtan room where all of his books were stored. When he saw his books were being taken care of and respected, he was so pleased. He grabbed me in his arms and embraced me, and he said, "Thank you very much, thank you very much." And I fell at his feet offering dandavats and said, "Thank you, Srila Prabhupada." That was the fulfillment of all desires, to see Srila Prabhupada smile at me.
San Diego is a beautiful place where the sun always shines. They had a very large poster that used to be displayed in Los Angeles, a billboard showing a a man on a golf course with the green grass and the blue sky. The caption was, "Just another beautiful day in San Diego." Well, that's San Diego, a place where it's perpetually beautiful and the people are perpetually mellow and life is perpetually wonderful. And Prabhupada arrives on a beautiful summer day to address the people who had gathered for the Hare Krishna festival in Balboa Park. And they're basking in the sun, and there's these young demigods with bronze chests and beautiful blonde hair hanging down from their aristocratic, beautiful faces. And Prabhupada gives this lecture about this rotten material body. And it was just so perfect. It was just a dart in the hearts of these conditioned souls misidentifying themselves with the material nature.
Prabhupada was starting off speaking about one subject, and then a hippie interrupted him. "I want sex!" And Prabhupada just changed the whole subject of the lecture and began to explain in detail the grihastha regular principles for having children. It's quite astonishing. Telling the hippie, "You can have, but this is the way you have it." Then after he spoke, there was this wonderful kirtan.
There's Govardhan. He's the temple president. And I'd actually just taken initiation in June. So this is like a month later. I was actually here when Prabhupada came in, but I'm not here because I'm out at the curb with the car. And we had a nice white Lincoln Continental that we got from Ford Motor Company. We filled it with marigolds, and it was just chock-a-block full with marigolds. And then when Srila Prabhupada came out, I offered my obeisances to him and held the door open, and he gave me a nice pat on the shoulder. I always remember that, and got in, and we took off for the temple. I was Srila Prabhupada's driver for his whole visit in Detroit. When you drive from the airport into the city, you pass Ford Motor Company is on both sides of the road as you're coming in, and there's actually this big tire that's been there for years. It came from the World's Fair, I think. In 1964, they had a World's Fair, and they had a Goodyear exhibit. So they brought this huge tire. So we're passing this big, huge tire, and Prabhupada says, Srila Prabhupada had a great sense of humor. He said, "Oh, this is the presiding deity of Detroit." And we drove a little farther, and here's the car here. There I am. So we drove a little farther, and we passed Ford Motor Company on the left, and on the right, world headquarters, Ford Motor Company, it said. So Brahmananda said, "Is this where you work?" And Prabhupada said, in his very deep voice, he said, "No, he is the proprietor." So we all had a good laugh at that. And then we proceeded on to the temple. We were still at the temple on Jefferson. Temple on Jefferson is in a historic neighborhood, Indian Village it's called. And we would go out to Belle Isle to go for a morning walk. It's a park near the temple on Jefferson, so we would go out there and park and then walk around. And it was my job to find the proper route. And no matter what route I ever came up with, we'd always run into a bunch of rowdy people or something. It was just, because it's a city park, so the caliber of people in there were not so great. There'd be some people that had been there all night, come rolling out of the bushes. But Prabhupada was very merciful, and, I think he enjoyed walking there. The devotees had built Prabhupada a palanquin because the temple room was on the 3rd floor. So they built a palanquin to carry Prabhupada up to the top. And he took one look at it and waved his hand and said, no, because it didn't look very, very safe. We would come back to the temple room for greeting of the deities. There's Radha Kunja Bihari Jai. Govardhan was such a perfectionist that, they were never ready by the time we got back. So, we'd be standing up in front of the curtain with Prabhupada. I could hear Govardhan screaming in the back, forget it. Just get the curtain open on time. But he always did such a nice job dressing the deities.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavansa Sri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Dalita Sri Vishakhantanscha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda